What's up, y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going? I'm the Celtic Warrior, Seamus.
Wardlow here.
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Oh, hello, everyone. I am not Miss Amanda Jane. And he is not Digi Damon. All right. So, welcome to the Thursday Night Chaser. We already got one of our usuals, Willis. What's up? So we normally do like the start of the birthdays. I can't keep track of that. That's an Amanda thing. So we're past that. We normally do the what's in your glass? What are you drinking? Because we're the dive bar of the IWC, right? So what are you drinking?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, bro. I just got some water, man. Some H2O.
H2O. Keeping
H2O.
it clean, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, we got a yeet in the chat. Oh, man. So, oh, God. Well, this is going to be a little bit different, you know. Fans First Sports Network, they're, you know, the bartender keeping the lights on for us so we can go after hours. So that's what we're doing. Sorry, you know, I have to get that out there. So, all right. Deo, you are an internet personality. You have tons of followers. You are well loved. I mean, what else is there that you don't do?
I don't speak Portuguese.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also don't, and I also try not to speak too much IWC because I know that
yeah, don't worry. This is a safe place here. We're good. We're good.
Whew, thank goodness. Yeah.
Because we say some things here, man, like when the whole Chris Jericho thing blew up.
Oh, yeah.
We had an after hours, oh, hell no session.
Crazy.
So, predominantly what we do here at the Thursday Night Chasers, we talk independence. We talk, the stuff you don't normally see, like the WWE, the AEW, but we will talk about that as it becomes relevant because it all kind of cycles through.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and then we're just going to go at it.
All right, sounds good.
All time favorite wrestler.
All time favorite wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan Danielson.
Ooh, why?
All right, so believe it or not, actually, I had this question asked to me by Jackie Redmond. So yeah. So back in the days, they used to do this thing called America's Next. I can't remember something. She was on a network where they used to do this search for like a sportscaster or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she asked me then who my favorite wrestler was, and this was like back over 10 years ago. And at the time I said it's Daniel Bryan, but it's Bryan Danielson. I find that being the little guy, often overlooked, not fitting the typical size that Vince was looking for or anything like that. But the skills were always there. You could see that he's like a wrestler's wrestler. And back then, it was like the beginning, or the Yes movement had taken over quite a bit. I mean, this is around WrestleMania 30. I think it might have been even before that. But yeah, I was just a big fan of like the underdog. Like Bret Hart was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. Ultimate Warrior was actually, like, as a little kid, that was like my guy. Believe it or not,
Guy.
I know.
No, that's.
But you know what it was? It was the energy. You know what I mean? I hate it.
Yeah,
To this day, I still don't like Hulk Hogan. So I was always a Warrior fan. And when they had Mania 6 at the Skydome, I wasn't able to go. But, I caught the newspaper the next day, right? It had the Warrior holding the 2 belts. And I was like ecstatic. Like it was my guy who had won. So yeah.
I mean, we're talking back in the day when you ended up seeing Hulk Hogan's pants on the underwear of little children, and it wasn't a weird thing.
Right. Yeah. I had like Batman underwear and Superman underwear. I don't think I got the Hulk Hogan one. I don't think I got the Hulk Hogan.
Fun fact, my little brother, that was his gimmick. And I was all like, yeah, you just like the guy because he's popular. I'm like, I'm here for the Undertaker. I'm waiting for him to put him through the ring.
That's funny, man.
Well, that's cool. So you dig the underdog sort of thing?
Yeah, and like I think a lot of people, like, if I had to choose growing up, I know a lot of people are, when they're growing up, they might have said like, who's better, Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart. I found Shawn Michaels was more athletic, but technically Bret Hart was more technically sound. And so you can like both of them for different reasons. And so I just find that Bryan Danielson is just overall, he's got like the total package now. And the fact that like he's much better on the mic now than he was when he was first starting, like in NXT, for example, like nationally, much better now than he was back then. So yeah, I think now he's got more of like a total package, like Luger. Not Lex Luger, you know what I mean?
That poor guy. Yeah, no. He's actually he was in Maryland not too long ago for a whole thing with MCW. I'm surprised the guy's still kicking. He just, like, we remember him back in the day as this huge jacked beast, and now he's like a quarter of the size, and it's kind of hard to recognize him.
Yeah, it's true.
So that being said, and I'm glad it was Daniel Bryan, believe it or not, what do you think about the way they're turning Cody Rhodes for 40?
Man, that I was a big proponent of he should have gotten the title last year kind of thing. But I think as the year has kind of gone on, everyone wants to have that WrestleMania moment, I think, right? And that's, I think, why a lot of the fan base was really upset that he didn't get it last year, because it was like, he was so red hot, like, when are you gonna have him even hotter? And like it's you can't argue that he's not hotter now, because he is, especially after the backlash from everybody with The Rock coming back. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't win, to be honest.
That's fair.
And it would make sense to me that he would win it at Madison Square Garden.
because I'm looking at it from the perspective of, and while the IWC can get butthurt about it, they reacted exactly how they wanted them to react. This was
Exactly.
a direct play on the Yes Movement takeover, except it was done virtually.
Right.
So well played on them. I mean,
Yeah.
as Cody Rhodes technically an underdog, not in the same way that Daniel Bryan was at all.
Right.
But are they still capturing that same energy? I think they took their playbook from that because it's too similar. I mean,
very similar, very similar.
So
I don't know if Punk hadn't gotten hurt, I don't know that we wouldn't be like with this discussion, to be honest. I think they really would have gone with Rock Roman. So yeah.
And my host Amanda has no love for Phil Brooks in the slightest.
Right.
I recognize the guy's just doing business, much in the same way with the Seth Rollins, and you could see a world where it was going to be Punk versus Rollins at 40 for the title. And that's kind of looked like that's where they were going until he got injured.
Right. Now I was in Chicago when he came back at Survivor Series. So that was crazy in itself. That's actually where I got the shirt. Right before they banned it.
Right before they banned it and then brought it back.
Yeah, they brought it back. So that Chicago crowd was like, it was like you hear it on TV, but like being there live at the Allstate Arena was pretty insane. Like it was just, yeah, they're pretty rabid. In the very beginning, actually, a lot of people were chanting for Punk at the very beginning of the show, and like the boos quickly drowned it out. I mean, you'd hear like CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk, and then it would just go boo, and it would just completely drown out the CM Punk chants. But at the end of the night, no one was booing, dude. No one was booing.
It's like Dominic Mysterio. People think that's piped in. No. That's loud.
Yeah, it is loud. Even in person, yeah, it was loud. And when you get to participate in it, it's even better.
That's true. That's true. I remember one of my first shows was watching, not even 150 people throwing chairs into a ring.
Oh, yeah.
Because ECW, man, them were the times.
Yeah.
Ooh, buddy. So that's interesting, because I've been looking at that, and I thought that LA Knight kind of threw in a little bit of a thing, because no matter what they do to him, he's still over like gangbusters.
Yeah, he is.
And
yeah,
he's got the crowd saying yeah for no good reason. And the irony is a lot of that gimmick is a remix of what he did in TNA when he was Eli Drake.
Right.
And that still boggles my mind. It's like CM Punk. He's only retooling everything he did in TNA. Because he was there for a short stint too. That's where he perfected not being a jackass on the mic.
Right, that's true. Yeah, and like after every punch, there's like a yeah. It's like yeah.
Like, I think they should have, went for the head of the table thing maybe later, and had The Rock versus, doing The Rock as the opponent
for the title though. Knight. Oh, for LA Knight.
LA Knight versus The Rock to remove the competition. Have The Rock, or did it have Roman Reigns against Cody? Cody takes the win. Rock takes the loss. Head of the table needs to switch. Then you can have that bump out. And I think that's like inevitably where they're going to go, because they think The Rock has turned heel. No, The Rock was just being a dick.
I think this is a way to. I don't think The Rock's heel at all right now. I think this is a thing with Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm brutally honest, the fact that Cody was like, I had a good conversation with someone who knows you better, and then he brings out The Rock, and then The Rock kind of shakes his hands, whatever whispered in his ear, and then like at the press conference, almost like Cody set it up in a way where Roman thinks that like he's got Cody where he wants him, kind of thing. But really, if you watch the clips where it's The Rock walking ahead and Roman following behind, so Roman is not the head of the table. right? Like he's following The Rock at the moment, only for like later on for Rock to be like, you were always following me. You're not the head of the table. I'm the head of the table. And then, you know, Cody wins the match, wins the title, and then later on they do Rock Roman like a year later or something, you know, like at next WrestleMania or something. I can see that
could be
too.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing is they booked so many interesting matches that could go either way that unlike probably the last 20 of them, you know, now there's a reason to watch because you just don't know who's going to win.
Right.
Like everybody expected that Punk was going to win the Rumble and it didn't happen.
No.
You know, they thought, well, Punk's just going to walk in and take over. No, he's not. And like I've said it here on the show, the reason why he went back to WWE is because the grass was greener. He saw where he was at. He didn't like what was going on, and he knew his only other option to make similar, comparable money was where he was. And I'm sure he had to eat a lot of fucking crow for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
to be honest, like being at Survivor Series, like I can tell you, like I was sitting next to this dude. I just got to know him like during the show. And as we're talking, we're like, do you think Punk is showing up? Like we would throughout like the whole thing, we're talking, right? And then even at the end, we're like, I even said to him, I'm like, well, I guess he's not coming. I'm like, what sense would it make for him to come out now? It wouldn't make any sense, right? Until you saw Seth Rollins' reaction. And then I was like, okay, that makes sense. And seeing how like pissed off Rollins was, I was like, oh, this is so good. This is so good, you know? And
it's smart business. Like, say what you will, it's smart business.
Yeah.
You know, Rollins knew that, you know, Punk's here. He's going to be the hype for the while. So the best way to do it is to, you know, hit yourself on the wagon. Do good business.
Yeah. And it's very good.
Oh, yeah. Because, you know, it's going to come back around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only a torn ACL. Hell, Vince was back in 2 months.
That's true, yeah.
Kevin Nash, however.
That's a different story. No, Kevin Nash.
So, you watched the Rumble.
I did, yeah.
Okay. What did you think of Jordan Grace showing up for the Rumble?
So, that was super cool. And I think a lot of people didn't know at first when the music hit. In fact, like I was like, hold on, right? Until I saw like them like pan over and see her name like on the thing before like they show her face or whatever. And I was like, no freaking way. But you can always kind of feel like it's coming when wrestlers are like chilling at home, you know, and it's like, nah, you're not at home. Like, you know, like it's almost like you're just trying to like, you know, say like, I have nothing, I'm not going to be anywhere tonight. But it was super cool to see. And the fact that like she got some really good offense in, they didn't just like throw her out right away. Like they actually made her seem like a really credible, which she is, a really credible, like, you know, wrestler. And to be, to have that moment with Trinity, like in the middle again, when they hug and then they just go right after each other, like right away. I thought that was super cool too. Cause it's again, and then the announcers like acknowledging it too, you know, like, it's,
acknowledging the history, another company.
Yeah. And like, isn't this like, the woman who beat Naomi for the title? You know, it's like, what the heck? Like, what freaking universe are we living in where freaking WWE is mentioning other companies like this, except for like maybe back in the days when they used to do stuff with Smoky Mountain Wrestling, you know?
They used Smoky Mountain, I think, as a sort of a developmental.
Yeah.
For a good while.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought like Mickie James was going to be that one-off, one and done because of her history with the company. Jordan Grace has never been in WWE to my knowledge.
No, she hasn't. As far as I know either, no.
They did
not like even like little... NXT or anything. I don't think she's even done that. Yeah.
I think the only couple of people of note that I know that were from TNA that started NXT was Sami Callihan and Eli Drake.
Right.
And Rockstar Spud and EC3. Those are the four I can think of.
That's right.
Which, you know, that's all turned into some weird circles. But yeah, man, it's like I thought Mickie James would be the one-off, but, you know, Jordan Grace, and they did this whole thing where it was literally like the weekend before, like the week before, where Scott D'Amore calls and goes, hey, so you want to do some wrestling? Oh, great. What's he asking me to do? You want to be in the Rumble?
Where am I going
Wait,
now?
what? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, that seems like a very Scott D'Amore thing to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he's like Canadian wrestling royalty, as I recall.
Yeah, I mean, he's very well known, and he's a great booker, man. Great booker.
Yeah.
So, I think
And he-
TNA. I think TNA is really underrated. Really underrated, actually.
Have you seen any of the
Really
new
underrated.
stuff?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, their last pay-per-view alone shocked the world. Because it was just, there was beats and hits and moments. They had people you didn't expect, like, having Dolph Ziggler or Nick Nemeth.
Right.
Like, who the fuck saw that coming, considering the week before he was in Japan picking a fight for the title?
Right. Yeah.
It was just like, what the hell, dude? And then they got Dana Brooke. So we're living in a very weird world.
Dana Brooke is she's a sweet girl, man.
Oh yeah, I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah, she's a sweet girl. I remember being at a house show one time, and there was a girl. I can't remember what she was wearing, but Dana Brooke was she came over being all heelish, and then got up in the girl's face, and like I was literally like right there. She goes, "You look beautiful, by the way," is what she said to her. And she was a heel, and then she like went on her way, and I was just like I heard that, I was like, man, this girl's so sweet, she's like, "You look beautiful, by the way," and she goes, "Yeah, blah blah blah," to the crowd, right? But to the girl was like, "Oh gosh, thank you," I was like
offended, and that's so good.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of chatters that I deal with. One has a pretty good rapport with Natalia Neidhart, and it's always so adorable because she makes it a point when she sees her at these shows down where she lives. She always they say hi, they get together. There's a little chatting, she remembers things. Lacey Evans was another good one where if you reached out to her and you talked to her like a person, she would hear you out. She was very good for her fans.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's too bad they shit her gimmick in the bed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
I mean, like that. Ronda Rousey's on the indies now.
Yeah, I mean, I really did like the reality kind of based feel that Lacey's gimmick started having there near the end.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. You can see you could see that her mouth was getting dry, because she'd be like, while she's talking, almost like not to say like it was a nervous thing, but almost like you just saw the realism, I think, in it, and I thought that was really well done. I just I think she's really talented too. Like I think underrated too. So
yeah, and then she's done with wrestling, and I get it. Because she did it for real. Like, if they would have just booked her straight out, in a Sergeant Slaughter style, without the dumbass hat,
right,
and have her work in, rock out, be badass, as similar to what they did with Kana Asuka.
Right.
At the beginning, she would have been that all-American face you could have built the women's division around. Because she's legit. She, there was nothing about her past you couldn't say she wasn't legit.
Right,
like Layla Hirsch. And it's just the same. They strapped her shitty gimmick after shitty gimmick. She even had a little bit of a thing online with Sergeant Slaughter and his daughter.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because
they were coming after her for stealing the gimmick or all that kind of stuff. But it's...
I love her response of, "At least I was in the service." It's like, whoa, shots fired.
Yeah. I mean, they should have really ran with that gimmick a little bit harder, I felt,
Yeah. Well, that was different creative. I mean, that never say never, because a lot of wrestlers came back because Vince wasn't in control of creative.
Right.
And once the TK got a hold of things and went, "Vince, stay the fuck out of it. He's hard to do a job. Let him do it."
Yeah.
That's when you saw the creative kind of switch over to where now we're anticipating wanting to see matches and what's going on. We care about some things. I mean, obviously there's throwaway matches that are just meant to be a slow burn for something else, but it. I think it bodes well. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, like because I've been watching Impact, they had a cute thing with Havoc and Rosemary where they were just their normal people selves. But it was like this Bill and Ted's excellent wrestling adventure between
Yeah.
those two.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious, right?
Yeah.
And then when they hit TNA and they were going after the titles the second time, they came out in the old Decay gimmick with the both of them. And they're now being treated like the monsters that they are because they're both very well known. Courtney
Yeah.
Rush is Canada forever. Havoc's been in the business easily close to 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It reminds me almost like the Abyss gimmick when man, I forget was it Park Joseph Park,
Joseph
right?
Park.
Was that
Yep.
yeah? It was Joseph Park. Yeah, when he would do that, like you knew it was Abyss, but
Yeah. He wasn't
it
going to
was
say
like
it was the best.
yeah, it was like, and then it was kind of like a Kane thing, like corporate Kane, and then like the monster Kane and all that kind of stuff.
Which
I wasn't a fan of corporate Kane, but yeah.
that's because the WWE bit it off of what they were doing in TNA.
Yeah, but what I mean is, I wasn't a fan of corporate Kane. Like, I just like that whole character arc to me is it's sad actually, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
go from being like this monster who was supposedly burned in a fire, your brother like supposedly did this to you, and then I remember I had stopped watching wrestling, I think in 03, just for like a couple of years, and
Right.
I had heard he had taken his mask off, and I was like, no way. It made me want to look back, and then I saw what they did, like how it was a wig on the mask, and like his face was just like colored, and he was just like, I was like, freaking Dr. Isaac Yankum DDS. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, man? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like he just kind of looked like a bald-headed guy afterwards. No offense to you or me, but it's just like,
No, man.
I was like, what the hell are they doing with this guy? And then they turned him corporate, and I'm like, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense at all for Kane to be like corporate. The funny Kane was funny, right? When he was with Hogan and The Rock, and like, let me tell you something, brother. Like that was good stuff. But like the rest of it, it didn't make sense to me. So I'm like, I don't know. I feel like they ruined Kane for me.
Yeah, I think Bray Wyatt was the first one as the Fiend to actually be a character that was burned and looked burned and melted.
Right, yeah.
Because that was so fucking wild when he, popped through the ring after Orton just been flash papered in the face.
Yeah.
Which I can't wait for Mama Bliss to come back.
Yeah, I'm excited for her too. I think same with her, man. I think she's a great wrestler, and I think often same. I feel like she's often underestimated as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Alexa's a great I think she's great in the ring and on the mic too.
Absolutely. And the way she's able to slip gimmicks, which I've been kind of saying, Nikki Cross has lost her fucking mind again. This time it's more of a hypnotic trance sort of thing. We've seen that before,
right?
Bo Dallas, because I believe now Uncle Howdy has not been released from the company.
Right.
The gimmick has not been canceled. There is still a creative team for that whole deal.
Yeah.
And Alexa Bliss comes back after this much of a stint away. It would only make sense to kind of, if you're going to build a faction, build it around two of the more charismatic women of the division.
Yeah, true.
And you could throw in, any number of, standard talent that didn't do anything like they did with B-Fab.
True, yeah.
She did nothing.
Man, I'm still kind of sad they dismantled the Hurt Business in the first place, man. That was a good faction. Like, anyway, but
you're right.
Yeah. It was such a good faction.
Because you could have done that. You had a lot of talent there that could work the mic, work the ring. I mean, Lashley's been doing this for forever and a day. He's done multiple companies.
Yeah.
You know, hell, he did most everything with the same people. You know, it could have been a dynasty. Like, it could have been what the bloodline is now if they would have treated it right.
True. Yeah.
But I think they didn't see the bloodline coming in the same way. And I would say Sami Zayn is the reason for that. I don't think people cared as much when it started until
The bloodline.
Yeah, I think Sami Zayn was that turning point, that push.
Yeah.
Because a lot of his, because he was always meant to be a B-side player, they gave him a little room, and then people were invested in Sami Zayn and the bloodline, and then when it became adversarial, you didn't care, and then it kind of put both of them over at the same juncture.
Right.
I mean, that's just my theory on the matter.
Yeah, like I mean, to me, I think that's also one of the loudest pops I think I've ever heard when Sammy hit Roman in the with the chair at the Rumble.
Oh yeah,
like you can literally hear the from the crowd. Like it's insane, like how good that was. I remember showing my son, and my son was like, "No way!" And I was like, "Isn't it crazy?" And he's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah." So.
Yep.
But I think you're right. I think they're doing what they're doing with Sammy now too. I think is good. Like this kind of losing, and then you start feeling sorry for him, and then he's gonna have that like resurgence kind of thing. I think will be really good for him too. So
I think it's going to involve Kevin Owens, because that tends to be, he works really well.
Yeah, I hope so. They're good together.
Yeah, it's like if they're the two counterparts together, even against each other, they're magic.
Yeah.
Can they work with anybody else? Yes. It's like with Styles and Nakamura. If they would just go, here's the ring, have fun, it would be amazing. It was amazing once before.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
They're bringing back Styles, the Lone Wolf gimmick from back in the day, which is interesting. I mean, it sucks that Gallows and Anderson are only, side pieces to Mia Yim.
Yeah, or just side pieces in general. Again, like exactly before they were released, they're like almost doing the exact same thing, unfortunately. But AJ Styles looks like he freaking ate AJ Styles.
Yes, he's got jacked,
dude's like,
dude, like
he came back. I was like, what the dude ate AJ Styles?
He may have. I mean, I know he was off for a minute.
Yeah.
Rehabbing, but goddamn, man, he's jacked.
Yeah. It's crazy how. Same with Mustafa Ali, man.
Dude, his TNA stuff is so fucking good. Oh my god! Because I said it from the beginning. Mustafa Ali is underrated. They did not give him a chance.
I mean, again, remember he got injured. Then Kofi took. That's how we got Kofi Mania. But like with Mustafa Ali, I really like the gimmick that he's doing. He was gonna start to do it. He said he pitched it, I think, in WWE, and I think I might have seen like a couple of backstage segments of him kind of talking like that. But I'm glad he's going with it, and I'm glad like a lot of these guys, when they get released, like they really try to do their own thing, and it just really shows where you might say, oh, creative sucks. Okay, fine, you're released, now go do your own creative and see how well that gets over. And if that doesn't get over, then you really can't say creative sucked. It's like, well, if their creative sucked and your creative sucks,
then it sucks, and you learn a valuable lesson.
Yeah. It's like, don't blame creative. It's you. At that point, take maybe that's not it. Maybe that's not what's gonna work. Maybe you got to do something else.
But, that's the cue.
Yeah.
Well, it's like with Dolph Ziggler. I said that WWE releasing him was probably one of the worst decisions they ever made, because it didn't matter what match you put him in or who you put him with. He made everybody look like gold.
Every time. Best. One of the best sellers ever.
And at the same time, though, him going over to, because he's not going back to WWE. He's clear.
Right.
I'm done with it. I've done all I can do there.
Yeah, he has.
And so he did like his, because he's done a little bit of, one-offs with his brother. That was a thing. He's been over to Japan to come back to America to pick another fight, which is great. And he also did this vignette, I want to say, that's in the style of a horror movie.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it,
I've seen
check
it.
it out.
Yeah.
Oh,
He goes into the
Is that-
bar and then yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
yeah, and then he gets arrested, and
Yeah.
and he's like, "You're gonna need to let me go,
Yeah.
like right now."
Yeah. And they're
It's
like,
like,
no. And
whoa.
then these friggin' like zombies or something come out of nowhere. And yeah, I saw it.
And he's all beating their ass, and it just
Mhm.
it looks great. It's like, who would have seen that from him, considering the way they played him before? And they've done. I really feel there's now
He's
kind
not.
of
He's not the show off anymore. He's not like. Yeah, he's not doing that
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
Thank God. Like, when he was in his serious moments, you knew the man was gold, and that's why they kept him. I mean, he's the male counterpart to Natalia because she's been there forever.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised that when she retires, she stays backstage.
Yeah,
Like
with TJ, yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not a big Natalia fan.
Oh.
Maybe it's just because she's been there so long, or I don't know. Like in the beginning, I thought she was the best wrestler that they had. At the beginning of like the Divas thing, I felt like she was one of the best wrestlers that they had technically. But as time has gone on, I mean, I don't know. Part of me is I just can't take her serious when she has like the little cat ears on her head and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just Canadian or not, I'm like.
No, I get it, man. I
Yeah.
get it. She, I love Two Paws. I'm down with the Two Paws. I follow her cat's Instagram. It's hilarious. But yeah, and I understand why it's done that way. And I know that, like, behind the scenes and the things, she's teaching some of these people to be better at their craft.
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell who she's teaching and who is not wanting to learn it. Because she's always been that, one that if you want to know, she's down. She's fully open arms. Guy, girl, doesn't matter. But at the same time, you don't want to know. She ain't going to waste her time with you. And you can tell who's improved and who hasn't.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Like Liv Morgan, night and day. Like
big night and day. Yeah.
It was overnight.
Yeah.
And
I think, but I think part of that too is like, they put in that faction, the Riot Squad, I think they put just so much emphasis on Ruby, that you didn't really get to see much of Liv Morgan because they were always doing like a tag team thing or a three versus three kind of thing. And so you didn't really get to see a lot of like what she was capable of. And I think I think she made it to WWE, so she must be doing something right.
Right.
So I don't know. Like it's just, I think maybe they just had to finally give her the nudge.
They kept pigeonholing her into the tag team thing because they did the same thing with Raquel, but Raquel kept getting injured.
Right.
And, that's what kicked off, Live Your Life, where she started getting into it. And she performed really, really well. And she's only gotten better since.
Yeah, I agree.
And then that's just, you can tell somebody who gives a damn. Because they'll want to, work their end. They want to, ask the advice, learn new things. It's like Mia Yim is doing the Styles Clash. That's not a simple move to do, and it requires some preparation on your opponent's part.
For sure. Instead of like tucking your head, you actually have to lift your head instead of tucking. Otherwise, you did.
Yeah. And somebody has done that the wrong way and got their neck broken.
Yeah.
You take it right, it's perfectly safe. You don't. Now, I'm going to ask you about this one. What do you think of Logan Paul
As a person or like as a performer?
as a performer, as a wrestler? Not let's.
Yeah.
We already know he's a scumbag. Otherwise,
Yeah. Surprisingly, really good. Surprisingly, really good. I think he, his athleticism is showing, where he's allowed. I mean, and he's had some like funny moments, with, for example, when they did the KSI thing, where KSI was like, "Oh, well, look at this, and then they gets put on the table, and then Logan accidentally like goes on him. That was pretty funny. But yeah, I think he's. I mean, I don't know if I would make him a U.S. champion unless he's gonna be like defending it often or like being more involved, which it seems like he's starting to be. But I mean, yeah, I can't hate on the guy's athletic ability or wrestling. I mean, who he's been in the ring with, for his first few matches: Rey Mysterio, Roman Reigns. I mean,
Ricochet.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that moment at the Rumble was insane, right? Yeah.
That moment left me speechless. I was like, "What?"
Okay, but hold on. Let me ask you about this.
Okay.
You know, I like AEW, right?
Okay.
But like it really gets me. It really grinds my gears when people are like, this is the alternative. Because I think TNA has been the alternative for a very, very, very long time. And I just think they just didn't have the money that Tony Khan had, that Tony Khan has. But I also think that Lucha Underground was just on a whole other level of storytelling and wrestling. If you watch Lucha Underground, like the first couple of seasons at least, you'd see some crazy crap like what Ricochet and Logan Paul did, right? With I think it was Jack Evans.
Yeah, Jack Evans.
Yeah, and what's the other guy?
I don't know. He works.
He wears green. He's in AEW now, but the dancer guy, I forget his name. I can't remember. I don't know why I'm remembering Jack Evans, but I can't remember this other dude. Anyways, he did he like jumped off the stage in the temple into the ring. Like some crazy stuff, or with the cinder blocks when they used to do like, I think
William Taya Valkyrie's husband.
John Morrison? No.
Oh, because he did some crazy shit there too.
Yeah, he did. But like, even like just the whole storytelling that they did there too. I kid you not, every single competitor there was like a main eventer. You could put the title on any of them and it would make sense. Like they booked it so well. And so, I hear everyone's like, "Oh, AEW is the alternative." I'm like, just you have more money, you're on TV, like you got a deal. But Lucha Underground to me and TNA were the alternative. If you didn't like WWE, to me, it's like I just would put on Netflix and watch some Lucha Underground, to be honest. So, and again, they did some incredibly athletic stuff there too.
Like Lucha Underground, in my mind, was gone far too soon. And it was the same problem ECW had, as in my mind, is that ECW they wanted committals to get the money to do the thing, but they can't do the thing until they get the money to do the commitments. Right. And it just was a financial, there was no way to go. And that was kind of similar to with Lucha Underground, had storytelling, production. It was just everything and then some, and it gave you a world to believe in.
Right.
As similar to ECW, that was the world. You either were with the world or you didn't understand it at all.
Right. There is a point there where I was like, man, Prince Puma is like one of my favorite wrestlers. If people were to tell me who's your favorite wrestler at the time, I would probably say Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Prince Puma. Like they would be in like my conversation of like at this time, like who's the best. And then obviously it's Ricochet. So it's just kind of cool to see. I really wish Ricochet would also get more of a shot, to be honest, too. So
yeah, it's nice that you have him for the highlight reel, but it should be more than that. He deserves more. Will
Yeah, he definitely, yeah.
So far as TNA is the promotion that refuses to die. Like, it's been through 3 different changeovers, 2 shitty general managers, owners. It's survived that, retained talent, and still managed to find a TV deal. Like, oh, and most everybody's favorite wrestlers in the last 5 years have been TNA originals.
Right. It's true.
You know, it just, I don't know, man. I like AEW, like when it started, when the boys were in charge, I think it was a better product. I think it was a better production, and it was better matches. The storytelling was there because they knew it from a personal experience. I think Tony Khan is a fantasy booking mark with a paycheck. And I say that for 3 good reasons.
Respectfully.
Oh, no, there's no respectfully about it. You couldn't keep William Regal. That tells me there was a problem. There was a problem with creative. There was a problem with talent. Regal didn't stay. You fucked up somewhere. Okay? At virtually every major pay-per-view, there is between 1 and 5 injuries to talent, which means everybody's looking for the it's cool moment. That's what they're being told in the back at the risk of their health.
Right.
You know, and the third, very much so, is that some of their storylines are so mirrored to 1980s wrestling that I know they could do better. They have the talent, they have everything, all the tools, but they're choosing to progress to sort of this fan service mark booking. You know, it's cool that you can see, you know, a couple people, you know, who generally didn't have, you know, a match they wanted to do, like the Edge and Christian thing. Cool. One-off. Do it. Build a story around it. Make it happen. You know, building a story around it to change a guy's name to Kill Switch to be nonsensical turning in circles doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Like, you could have turned Luchasaurus to Kill Switch by just a little adjustment. It should have been on his own. It didn't need Christian's involvement.
Right.
That's like a fan thing, you know, and then it's what fan are you catering to? You know, WWE caters a lot to the casual fan and to a knowledgeable fan. Like, if you only watch WrestleMania, you kind of know who's involved.
True, yeah.
With AEW, it seems a little all over the place. Like, Ring of Honor used to be the golden standard of performance and talent. You know, one of the few companies in the United States that was authorized, signed, and paid for to have a faction of the Bullet Club.
Right. True, yeah.
And, you know, the only thing that killed Ring of Honor was the lockdown. That's what killed Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
They had 2-year plans out, and now they're the C show to the B show to the A show.
I'd say the D show.
That's fair. The only reason I say C show is because Athena is still fucking amazing and carries that on her back.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like you got Ring of Honor, Rampage, Collision, and Dynamite. You know, so it's like an afterthought, to be honest, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's too many shows. Like, WWE has a hard enough with retention at 3 hours, and they're running 4 shows a week. They're running, every other month pay-per-views.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you're spread so thin, I don't think the storylines have enough time to catch. Like,
yeah.
NXT does its own thing. You know, it's part of the brand. You know, it's developmental light, but they have their own pay-per-views. It's strictly their pay-per-views. The roster turnover between the two is little bit, not a lot. But when Dynamite, Collision, and all that, it's who's part of what roster. I think if they treated them a little differently, it would do a lot better. But
Yeah, the rosters just kind of like blend in together. It's like when people complain about WWE. I thought there was a brand split. Why is this guy showing up on this thing? And it's like, right. And then it's like, I thought this guy was Ring of Honor. Well, he is. So why is he showing up on blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah, blah. It's like yeah. I just wish like, I mean, I think Athena is killing it with what she's doing, but I think she also deserves more props and to be like on the main shows to
Yeah.
like a larger audience for what she's doing, but yeah, I'm sure yeah.
Like, I look at, she should never went to AEW. I think she should have went to TNA.
She seems happy there though. She seems really
I think
happy there.
she's getting paid there.
Yeah, that's true.
Money does some things.
That's true, yeah.
But I think if we were going to talk about building on her legacy, bar none, and I fight people on social media about this. Hey, Justin Case just said good evening from Florida.
What's up, Justin? Case.
Justin Case. Love this dude. But like, bar none, TNA, Impact, whatever you want to call it, has always had the best women's division in Western wrestling, period. I think they're about neck and neck, if not better than Stardom, because Stardom used to be the gold standard.
Right.
For her to go over there and to have classic matches with a Taya Valkyrie, with a Rosemary, with a Sue Young, with a Deonna Purrazzo, a Mickey James, like she could have had a match with anybody and looked like $1 million. Like Lady Frost, she deserves a lot more. She deserves somebody needs to pick that woman up, give her a contract, and pay nicely. Because if Athena had done the same moves that Lady Frost did, not moves as a moveset, but like business acumen, I think she would be writing her own check to whatever she wanted to do. I think now she's kind of pigeonholed to, as you said, the D show that doesn't appreciate her. Like, it's very rare to see a woman carry an entire program on her back in a predominantly male industry. So something's going on there.
Yeah.
But then again, she plays Dungeons and Dragons, so I kind of got to root for her anyway.
Right
on. So, all right. So I have barraged you with really pedantic questions. You want to ask me anything in the world? This is a back and forth. We're friends at a bar.
Nah, man, to be honest, I think
we've known each other that long, I guess. It's like, you already know I'm all, P1 down since Impact. Get ready to fly. Oh man, which Joe Hendry is now using a variation of that, which makes me think there's a little bit of crossover going to happen. I can see that. I can see AJ Styles kicking the hell out of Joe Hendry.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I'm really curious to know what this one. I'm actually really surprised about Scott D'Amore, but
yeah,
I
know he made an offer to buy the company outright, and it wasn't that it was a good offer. It wasn't a good offer. They just said no, and he got fired. That's about all I know why. Well, released.
The why is because he made an offer. That's it.
I don't know. Like, nobody.
Oh, okay.
Quite...
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea what happened there, which is why it was really surprising. I think And I think for the talent too, like I think they were just like, what the hell? What just happened? You know?
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of what I've gotten, is that it was
yeah,
just out of nowhere, and
like an RKO.
nobody. Yeah, I still your clip. Sorry, I yeah, out of fucking nowhere, because
Yeah, man, I don't know.
Daddy's back.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
That was cool too, being there when he came back. We
Yeah.
everyone was thinking the last guy's gonna be Punk, right? But at the same time, everyone's
Mhm.
like, that makes no sense. Him and Seth have like this beef and blah blah blah, right? So, it was just cool to see Randy come back.
Which
So
I, looking back at that pay-per-view, I understood why they needed to do it, why they needed to bring back Punk that night. I get it. At the same time, I felt it cheapened Randy's return, into quite a bit, and it created an unnecessary situation. Like,
mm.
business makes sense, but a lot of people, I felt, were kind of turned off by the matter, because it's like,
do you think is it would you liken it to when Adam Cole showed up in AEW and then Brian Danielson showed up in the same pay-per-view literally a few minutes later? Do you think it was like
yeah,
that, do you think?
yeah, too much. It wasn't spaced.
Mm,
Like when Bray Wyatt came back, there was lots of hope. There was no major returns. There was nothing that needed it to happen. It wasn't shitting on anything. It wasn't taking attention away from anything.
right.
And when it happened, and they kind of went for that same moment, but Punk is not a Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is not Punk. These are two separate style entities, and I don't think it worked the same way.
Right.
Because I was there. I was out of my seat, belligerent. Like, he should come back. What the hell? This is a pay-per-view made for him. And then the lights hit, and I'm like, oh, hell. And I marked out. I ain't going to lie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
By
don't know
my,
if you've seen. I don't know if you've seen my clip of when Punk came back, but I posted it on I think on I posted on Twitter for sure, and I know I did it on Instagram too. But yeah, it was just like we were all just there, and I literally said to the guy who was sitting beside me, I remember saying to him, like, I don't know, why are they still in the ring? Like, everyone was still in the ring.
yeah.
Everyone, like, good guys, bad guys, you name it. They were all just chilling there in the ring, just kind of like posing there. And then I said, do you think they'll bring him back? And he's like, no, I don't think so. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so either. Otherwise, I would have taken my phone out and started recording had I thought, right away that it was gonna happen. But then all of a sudden you hear is like Cody's music, and then all of a sudden you hear
Yeah,
and
it's like,
and then I was like, my phone, get my phone out, holy crap, like I couldn't believe it because everyone just exploded.
yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like the pop was huge for Randy Orton too while we were there. The one thing I want to know is with AEW, because
Mhm.
they could have, like, obviously there's their attendances in their what do you call it, domestic attendance has been fairly low, but
Down
even
by
with
a lot.
yeah, but even with like 3,000 people there, it makes it sound like there's like 40,000 people, right? I don't know how they do the audio in their like in the thing, but it's reminiscent to me of WCW, like very similar. It has that like more darker, grungier, I guess, kind of look to it. I don't know if I don't know if I'm describing it properly, but it just has more of like that WCW vibe to me. That
Right.
just it just, I don't know, like it's strange. It's strange to me, but
No,
how they make
the
the crowd sound like so loud, like how?
it's a hot mic thing.
Mm,
The crowd is mic'd.
mm.
That's why there's certain barricades and whatnot that they have some sort of thing where they can capture the audience's audio, and then they amplify it into the mix.
Oh, okay, that
Um,
makes sense.
the
Because I
difference
mean, it
between
sounds that loud.
AEW and WCW is WCW didn't hot mic. They didn't have to, because even
Right.
at their lowest, they were pulling like double what AEW is pulling now.
Right.
Even at their lowest, even when they were on 3 different variations of the NWO and, being at the time bought out on its tapes.
NWO 2000.
Oh,
That
fucking
was so bad.
trash.
That was so bad. So bad.
Like it's a really stupid idea when you're getting memed on with the Blue World Order, and they're just amazing because, like, the Blue Meanie has no right to be that athletic. I don't care.
Yeah.
That dude, no fucking way. And I guess that brings me to another one. Favorite faction of all time.
Favorite faction of all time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me think about this real quick.
Yeah, I hit you with something deep, didn't I?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to say the second iteration of DX.
Okay. What do you mean by second iteration?
So in the very first iteration of DX was China, Triple H, and Shawn, right?
Okay.
With Rick Rude and whatever, right? To me, that was the
Right.
first, they're like walking around going like this, blah blah blah. Yeah, that was cool to do at school and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, so I remember that like being a thing. I want to say, okay, so it's not, to me, it's not the NWO, even though the NWO faction creation, I think, obviously swayed the business over to WCW side, but I think it was just because of Hogan that happened. And me, I already told you what I thought about Hogan, so I'm not like whatever. So and then eventually, everyone was joining the NWO, and to me, it just kind of like watered it down. And then it's like, why is he joining? Like, it doesn't make sense. He wasn't a WWF guy. Like, why is it? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But the second iteration of DX, which was like after Shawn lost to Stone Cold at Mania, then when Triple H came and he's like, you call your blood, you call your friends, and then he brought out X-Pac, and then they have the New Age Outlaws join, and then at that point it was just such a hot faction, like with Road Dogg on the mic, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, right? Like you had that, and like the crowd was just so yeah, and that's what I mean. Like the crowd was just so behind that faction, that same thing, like it didn't make sense to me when they turned them corporate, and like again, like that it like ruined it to me. But I think at that point, as a kid, it just made me really, really enjoy that faction a lot.
Well, and to kind of like the first iteration, what they lacked was the presentation, and I think that's what Road Dogg and Billy Gunn brought to it, because people can't really tell you. They could tell you, "I got 2 words for you," but what they'll always tell you is, "Ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages."
Right.
They know that spiel quick.
Yeah, 100%. Now, mind you, the song, I thought the song was cool. It was so different. It was so different, like when Shawn was coming up, and the fact that Brett was like, "You're a bunch of degenerates," and blah blah blah, right? So it kind of was like the birth of it. But I mean, it's either that or even the Heart Foundation when they were all dripping in gold. Whoo!
Yup.
That was so. That was some good stuff too.
I love the Heart Foundation back in the day. I don't care, and it's on the record. This is live, okay? Stand it here. Owen Hart was an undervalued and underrated wrestler, and bar none, one of the most technically proficient of the entire family.
Right. Yeah, I'd agree. I would agree.
And I say that because it's not that the Anvil didn't do his part. The Anvil was a strong man.
Yeah.
Brett was the looker, the face. But Owen, if you needed a technical match that made people go, "Holy shit," that's your dude.
Yeah.
And he was that dude for like a decade.
Yeah, he was.
It's a damn shame. But I'm glad that he finally got some kudos to the matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like, what about what would you say is your favorite faction?
Mine would be the Bullet Club AJ Styles era.
Okay.
Because, and I have a good reason. When he took over the Bullet Club, it was originally set. You had your top guy that followed everybody else's lead. And I've given Uncle Alan a lot of shit because a lot of people saw him as the de facto leader. He was more like a chairman. Everything was by committee. He didn't run things. It was about the boys working together. And that got, like Gallows and Anderson, and they got a lot of shine, and it was never meant as a leader faction. It was meant as a whole faction. And I think that's
Right.
something most factions have a de facto leader. The most recent one that doesn't, I think, is Judgment Day, but they're
Right,
kind of
yeah.
swaying it to that. But the idea of a leaderless faction that, kind of has the group mind as a whole, I think is really interesting and very rarely done.
Mhm.
I mean, that's nothing to do with the fact it was AJ Styles, though that didn't hurt matters because he's a hell of a performer. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
when you look at there was Styles versus Nakamura, that was a legit clean match. It was legit. There was no outside interference, and he was still involved. So he wasn't a paper champion. He wasn't, they're obviously Gaijin, their heel faction, but it was in such a way that they were heels because they were Gaijin, not because they were cheaty fucks that needed everybody to do their work.
Right, right.
Unlike the Bloodline, which, yeah.
I mean, Drew called that perfectly, right? Like they interfere in every match, blah blah blah. I mean, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I think Drew is so justified.
Oh yeah,
He's so justified in the way he's acting and the way he's talking. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's heel." I'm like, "No, he's pissed. He's pissed."
He's pissed. He's been there.
Yeah.
Like they make that point clear that he was the chosen one. Why is he not the chosen one now? And he says it himself. I am to blame for that. And I say it again. Here we go. When he got released from WWE, do you know what company he went to? Do you?
Didn't he go to TNA?
Mm-hmm. He went to TNA as Drew Galloway.
Right, his real name.
He rehabbed himself. He unfucked his shit. He learned how to be an adult. And then he came back. Like, he knows. He's been there. He's been on the other side. He's seen a lot of the dumb shit that people do. And I think this is a great way. He's just calling it like he sees it.
Yeah.
Is he heel? No, he's just telling you the fucking truth.
Yeah, it's true. Like, they interfered in his match. They cost him the title at Clash at the Castle, right?
Yep.
He's like, look, they interfered in my match, blah, blah, blah. And then, Cody brings Jay over. He's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, we're just going to forgive this guy. He screwed you, right? He screwed me. He screwed Seth. He's sounds bad. He's screwing everybody. Right?
No, that's right.
And then he's like, this is unreal. Like, you guys are just accepting him like he's nothing. And he's talking to Sammy. He's like, bro, like he he hated you in the bloodline,
matches.
Yeah, it's like all this kind of stuff. Like, again, Drew is so justified in the way that that character to me is like, I don't see him as a heel. I know they're portraying him as a heel, and like the stuff that he's doing right now with CM Punk with the shirt is so funny and so good.
I love that shirt.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
I still think of the last 5 years, my favorite run is R-Truth in the Judgment Day. I just died. Oh my god.
Ever since I was a little boy, I always wanted to be part of the Judgment Day. What's crazy about that is you were saying before about factions is in the beginning of the Judgment Day, obviously there was a leader, which was Edge.
Right.
But then shortly after, once they kicked him out, yeah, it was like, it's a cool faction for that reason. It's like, Is it Rhea? Is it Damien? Is it Rhea? Is it Damien? And and
Is it
Finn's just in the
Finn?
back. Well, not really. You just see Finn in the back going like, oh, like blah 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 with Dom, right?
Well, because
And
Finn's been there as Prince Devitt, the
right,
original leader of the Bullet Club.
Bullet Club. Yeah,
He knows how this goes.
yeah. So he's like, oh, he said this, oh, like whatever, right? And Dom's
Mhm.
obviously Dom made it like that was a really good decision to put Dom in that group.
Oh yeah.
Like yeah, there's like some really
They
good stuff, but yeah,
they bet hard on Dom, and I think that was probably the wisest choice they could have made. Because this dude is third generation. He was trained outright by a Hall of Famer, one of the best luchadors to ever do it.
right,
One of the few luchadors to ever remove his mask and be accepted to put it back on.
true,
That's
yeah,
not done lightly or often.
yeah, I know,
And, like that's a huge deal. And the kids knocked it out of the fucking park.
yeah. I know he got a lot of slack early on. They're like, oh, he should be sent down to like he should be training more, blah blah blah. But it was just, I, I mean, I think you just gotta give him more with a lot of wrestlers. I think you just gotta give him more time in there, and then I think they get into it and they realize like what's on the line.
And
So
it helps that he's got, Rhea's been around for a while. Damien damn well has been around for a
yeah,
while. Ben's been in the business close to 3 decades,
yeah.
and that's what made me.
And JD is really good too, man. JD is I
JD
think
is
underrated
Irish.
too.
JD's Irish wrestling royalty.
Yeah.
That dude's done it all.
Yeah.
Like, people want to give him shit, but that's because he's playing the character to get shit.
Right.
But if you check out some of his old Irish shit, dude, he was a beast. And he can go.
Yeah.
And like that, it's the perfect faction for the perfect time. I think it's nice to see that little leadership headway, but I love the fact that, R-Truth is a national fucking treasure.
That man must be protected at all costs.
1000%. He is never allowed to become Canadian. I will fight. Like,
That's so funny.
I will go to the border and be like, you can't have him. He's ours. Kids, he made this shirt with the at R-Truth thing, and it was the #1 seller. It's still the #1 seller.
Yeah. I love the fact that he was bringing over all this cash to the Judgment Day and being like, here's your cut. He's like, to JD, you're not even part of the group. Oh,
and he's right.
Yeah, it's just some fun stuff that yeah, I think they're it's good stuff,
And
man.
It added when they kind of turned, when they started giving him shit for it, or when it's basically Priest is like, fuck you, because everybody else is like, dude, it was Priest and JD that were the problem.
Yeah.
And like that, God, it's a storytelling thing. It's like you're normally used to seeing Truth show up, and it'll be like at a pay-per-view or some awkward moment, and he's been sent in there to make somebody break kayfabe, like straight out. But to have him consistently, and he's part of this storyline, and they're making, well, now Truth is the victim because he was just having fun and he was making you money, and it was just this whole spiel. And but they're building that in, and not what is it, Monday? They had a dark match between R-Truth and Gunther.
Oh.
And R-Truth, like, Gunther sold to him hard. Nice. And the crowd was hot over the idea of him being in.
That's cool.
So, yeah, I don't know if they're going to take it anywhere because they got to find the right person.
Yeah.
Now, do I think the ever-living R-Truth, who doesn't look a day over 30, who's in reality like 60-something?
Yeah, I think he's in his 50s. I don't know if he's 60s yet.
He's late 50s, somewhere in there. He's still old as fuck. Everybody asks him, how do you look so good? He's like, Vaseline. I don't know. I take care of myself. What do you want?
I'm waiting for him to go, and people ask him that, he'd be like, my bad, this one's on me, you know.
And like when you hear about this guy's past, like his history, how he got in the business and where he was in his life, like that's a success story to be from, the bottom of the rung to a national treasure.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Only in wrestling could you provide that sort of thing.
That's true.
I was actually just talking to somebody, you might find this interesting, that our favorite wrestlers tell a lot about who we are because these characters provide some level of expectation, something we ideal a part of them into our daily lives. Like if I were to take a shot, Ultimate Warrior, all-time favorite, highly energetic, very well taken care of, very driven, very motivated, and all around, it didn't take him 40 minutes to get to the point. It was in, get it done, it was done. And that makes a lot of sense to you.
Yeah. I mean, one of my very first pay-per-views was SummerSlam 88.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that is the one where he beat Honky Tonk Man in like 30 seconds.
Yes.
Right?
Fucked
And
him up.
that turned me on to the Ultimate Warrior. I was like, that guy is sick. That's crazy. That's awesome. Blah blah blah. You know. And I used to buy these gumballs back in grade school that would change your tongue color. And
Oh, yeah.
and I remember Demolition. You know, like they used to like stick their tongue out. It was like all red, like Axe and Smash. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I remember doing that and like just buying those gums just specifically so I could like turn my tongue red and be like, same thing, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like adding spikes to your shoulder pads if you were a jock into wrestling, because the Road Warriors.
You know what I did?
know.
I grabbed
All right.
Long Johns, right?
Yes.
All right. So I had a pair of Long Johns as a kid that I cut the sides out, like on the sides, like right here on the sides, and on
Right.
both sides, so I could be like Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Dude, that's legit. Like, that is legit, dude.
Oh my gosh. I have to find those pictures.
We're going to go deep dive Deo.
Oh my gosh. It was so much fun. It was so much fun to do though.
God, when I had like an affinity to the Undertaker hat for a while there when I was really little. It was a thing. Whenever I would get my hands on one, it would always be over the eyes, that it was the whole thing. I was into the Undertaker gimmick as a kid.
Kane.
Yeah. The Kane thing bothered me. Like,
oh, did it?
It's like, Paul Bearer, I think, was a big part of that gimmick. And, his passing definitely took away some things.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to like every great wrestler that has had a manager, that manager was a good portion of the reason they got over.
Yeah. I think Bobby Heenan did that a lot for a lot of guys. Yeah, for sure.
Heenan, bar none. I don't know why he is so underrated in terms of everything he did for the business.
I don't know why either. I don't who underrates Bobby Heenan?
Ask anybody who even knows these days who Bobby Heenan is.
Jeez.
I mean, we know because we saw the man on commentary. We saw the man as a manager. We saw him do everything that Jim Cornette was afraid to do. That was Bobby Heenan.
Right.
The same guy who, for the beginning of days, was like, Hulk Hogan is a liar. He is a cheat. He is going to turn on the fans.
He even said it. But whose side is he on? And they're like, what are you talking about? And then he's like, he was right. He was right. He's been right all along,
Yeah. And that's one of those things, like if we were going to go in terms of management, I think Paul Heyman, bar none, in terms of being an on-screen manager, especially as Paulie Dangerously. I think it was his best work.
Yeah.
And then I would say Bobby Heenan as a second.
Ooh, I don't know. I'd probably switch it.
I'll tell you why, though. I have never seen Bobby Heenan in its, and I have the clip. I will show it to you if you've never seen it before. After
Okay.
all this, right? Where Heyman is talking shit to Medusa, like, because I am a man, and you're a woman, and there's this whole heated thing, right? And you have Vader standing behind him because at the time he was part of the Dangerous Alliance.
Right.
So Heyman's running his fucking mouth, and you're fired, this and that, and Deuce goes swinging on him, right? One of the few times he's taken a physical bump, only time from a woman. And you watch Vader go, fuck that, walk away. And that is like my favorite Heyman moment. And I have a bunch of really wonderful moments that I love Heenan for being the heel shill bastard that he was. But I've never seen Vader in the middle of a promo of anything just go. And you could tell it was like nobody told him what was going on. He just thought this was a shoot. And that's just hilarious considering he's the dude that in Japan got his eyeball knocked out. He put the shit back in mid-match.
Right.
Like that dude. Oh, sorry. I'm having nostalgia moments.
No, it's all good. I think I remember collecting all the Pro Wrestling Illustrateds back as a kid that my mom ended up throwing out when I moved out and was like, hey, I'm gonna come back and get those. And then all of a sudden I'm like, where are my magazines? She's like, I threw them out. They were just magazines. And I'm like, no, it's
You know
wrestling
how much
stuff.
money
Right?
those are fucking worth?
I know. So
Ugh.
I used to have like all the spotlights, WWE spotlights from the WWF magazine too. Like I had like there was one with the Warrior. Anyways,
Yeah.
I just think of everyone that Bobby Heenan, that he, I mean, I thought his work in WW, F was really, really good when he would put over people like the Brainbusters and Haku and
Mhm.
what do you call
Samoan
it?
Dynasty owes its.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And then you also have obviously Ravishing Rick Rude. I mean, that whole gimmick was phenomenal because of him and like beating the Warrior at WrestleMania 5 by holding
Yep.
like his leg or whatever. I remember I was so pissed at him, but then I saw what he did in as a color commentator, how he interacted with Gorilla Monsoon. I saw what he did in WCW. And so to me, like, I feel like Bobby the Brain Heenan was and is to me like the greatest manager of all time. And then
Okay.
I would say Paul Heyman is to me is second, only because of like the long story that can be told with him as well, right?
Right. That's interesting because I mean they're both great. I mean we're
Yeah.
pretty much echoing the same sentiment of I preferred this part of their career,
Yeah.
which that should show anybody paying any attention that Bobby Heenan deserves props, cred, love, and adulation. As much as anyone, if not more so. Give me 1 second.
Sure, no problem.
Honey, can you buy me a minute?
No,
Hmm?
I'm not at all ready.
Can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. What? Hold on.
Sounds good.
Diego, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I was just given the microphone because Digi had to go to the bathroom and I just
Yeah,
want to
no
be
worries.
nebulous. How are
no
you?
worries. I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I am
That's
doing
good.
wonderful. What are we talking about right now with
We
wrestling?
were just talking about Bobby Heenan and Paul Heyman as far as like who the best manager of all time is. So, yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with Paul.
Yeah, I know a lot of people go with Paul. I was going with Bobby. So, which was interesting.
I don't know. That's so hard though, because
Okay, thank you.
maybe it's because I know more of Paul's work. And I
Yeah.
don't think I'm going to be a fair judge, to be quite honest with you. Just to be fair, like I haven't seen much of Bobby's work, and maybe I should after listening to you, and I think I'm going to, so I can look at
Yeah,
the differences.
Bobby was great.
Bobby Heenan is amazing.
All right, I'm going to give Digi back
Okay.
the stuff.
Sounds good.
I apologize there.
No
Had
worries.
to tap a kidney for a second there.
I'm Kane. Do you remember when they did this with Kane? Oh, gosh, that was the
And it
worst.
was talk
That's
about
so
a
bad.
guy. I'm glad.
You see
he
what I
went-
mean? You see what I mean? Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm
This
with
guy's-
you.
This guy's voice was like voice boxing. All of a sudden, he's like, "I'm Corporate Kane." I'm like, "You're stupid."
You're an
Anyways.
idiot.
Anyways, I hate that. I hated that gimmick. Like what they did to it anyway. But
In my mind, Abyss will always be better than Kane.
yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Just-
The Monster Abyss just was he did a lot of like hardcore stuff. I don't find like Kane did really a whole lot of hardcore stuff.
No.
But just more supernatural type stuff, I think, with Kane. But yeah.
Whereas Abyss was just a monster, a guy who'd been tormented all his life. That was pretty much his background, and it just turned him into a beast. And that black hole slam, the choke slam, tombstone, yeah, whatever. The black hole slam just looks brutal at face value.
Yeah, true.
All right, so your favorite finisher?
Favorite finisher of all time?
Mm-hmm. One for action, the other for submission. Get two.
Okay. So one for action, I would say the Styles Clash.
Okay.
Just because how like cool it looks, and yeah, it's a phenomenal move. And the submission one,
Okay.
I would say the Walls of Jericho, but not the Boston Crab version of it. I think that sucks. I don't know why he ever even does that version of it. I think the version where like he's got his knee on the guy's like upper back neck kind of section,
Where it's, like,
and he's just like
stretching him.
Yeah, like, and he's just holding that like that. To me, that, I mean, if you've ever done it to anyone, they would tell you it's friggin' painful. I've done a few figure fours and sharpshooters to people. Figure four is actually quite painful if you're doing it right. But the Walls of Jericho to me are just that version of it, not the Boston Crab version where they're like, he's in the blah blah blah, and I'm like, it's a Boston Crab, bro. Right? Like Rick Martel would be really disappointed. Yeah,
it's a half-ass sharpshooter.
Yeah, but I think the Walls of Jericho where he's like his knee is on the guy's neck. Maybe it was it the Lion Tamer that he called? I don't know if it was the Lion Tamer that he called it in WCW.
Yes.
But whatever it was called, like what he had his like knee on the guy's like right up here, and the guy's like all like, oh freak, like that. I think that
was
was
the Lion Tamer when he had everything was lion themed with him, and he was
right. And he had
less of a thing.
Yeah.
And then Disco Inferno. I definitely like the Styles Clashes as far as action. I think it's interesting. It doesn't work on the bigger guys, but it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not a fan of the Phenomenal Forum. I just don't like it.
But I mean, I get where it comes from.
Yeah.
Japanese wrestling, they don't really do fist shots. They do elbow shots.
It reminds me kind of like Lex Luger's finisher in WWF when he was the Narcissist, right? Because he had that plate in his arm, and he would do the same thing, boom, flying elbow kind of thing, and people would get knocked out. But yeah, I would say that that would be that, and I would even say, I would say Kofi's Thunder in Paradise is up there just because it looks super cool because he has the spin to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? And I don't like the Trouble in Paradise. I think that just needs to go, and go back to some of his older move sets, but that's just me. Like the submission's a hard one for me because there were so many great submissions. Like the okay. You still with me?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Um, like the crossface, I think if we're really gonna go with it, and I know I'm not gonna mince words about it. Okay, I'm gonna be clear. As a wrestler, Benoit was top notch, 1000%. As a person, fuck that. Okay, so
Right,
we're not
right.
talking about the person, we're talking about the wrestler. But when he
So
put on
you're saying the crippler crossface?
crippler
Gotcha.
crossface,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
the way he pulled it back,
yeah.
and he just had that intense look, it just
Yeah,
sold
his
it
face was
so
always,
better.
yeah,
Like Cena tried to do it, and it was like, whereas Benoit was like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see what you
and
mean.
it like that's one of those things. And another guy, that's gone down a road. Not the first one either.
Right. True.
Puerto Rico is a wild fucking place for wrestling.
Yeah, that's
I'll
true.
leave that statement for those who want to do their homework. Uh, so, Latino World Order. You know who it started? You know who's in it now. Out of all the members, who do you think's the best asset they've gotten there?
In the current iteration of the LWO?
Mm-hmm. Modern
Uh,
LWO.
yeah. Um, I would say Zelina.
Of that, we can agree.
Yeah, I would say
Now,
Zelina.
why do you say Zelina?
Because I was a big fan of Thea Trinidad when she was what's it called, Rosita in TNA, right, with her and Sarita and Rosita. Like I was a big fan of her then, and I was like, man, this girl needs to go to WWE, like, and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? When they started her off as a manager, I was kind of disappointed just because I was like, man, she's good in the ring. Like, why don't you let her wrestle? Um, and then now she's wrestling, and I just, again, same thing. I just hope that they'd kind of like, she's I know. Again, I told you, I'm like just like the small underrated, the underdogs. Like
Yeah,
I'm like a fan of that kind of stuff. Like just seeing them, the David versus Goliath kind of thing, right? So it's I think Zelina just is, and her story is, her story. Maybe that's also it too. It's like with her dad and what happened to him on 9/11. To me, it's like I don't know. It's just like make your dad proud kind of thing, and like I want that for her. Like that, like
yeah.
stuff.
Like that's the Madison Square Garden moment. Which, by the way, let me humbly say thank you for remembering that she had life before WWE, and she had such
Hmm.
a great neck. Like everybody, I love what she's doing now. I love that they're putting her in a ring. I love they made her the heart and soul of the LWO. Like she's that glue that tries to keep it together. Because to be honest, I think Ray needs to just back away, which he's doing, and then shows up for special occasions.
Right, sporadic things. Yeah.
Right. And just leave it to like he's giving everybody the rub and then just let it go. And like Zelina is that glue. I think she's the first woman in the LWO as a faction whole, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're
yeah.
right.
Just like Mia Yim, I think is the first Bullet Club member that's a woman.
Huh.
Or yeah, I think so. Because I mean, they call it the OC,
Club.
but we know what it is.
Yeah.
Like but yeah, I like the fact that not only can she go, she's been training with her husband for like ever. For those of you who don't know, her husband is Alistair Black or Malachi Black or whatever the fuck you want to call him, one of the baddest son bitches on the planet. Shoot, baddest son of a bitch ever.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tommy End.
Tommy End. I like Tommy End very much so. But I'm slowly working the crowd. You know what I mean? Trying to teach them things.
Yeah.
You know, some of them I've had to have some. I've had to have a heart to heart on. You need to watch Impact. You need to stop being so sheltered.
Mm.
You need to see what booking's like. Um, but yeah, it's like she's got the grace of a luchador, but I think she has a hard enough hitting style that she got over real well in the when they went to Puerto Rico. Dude, crowd was hot.
Yeah, home state, man. Yeah.
Every time she comes out, the crowd is all about it. Every time she's involved in something, people are invested, and I know there's got to be plans further down the line, but they need to do something because she deserves it. I feel like she's
Yeah.
done more than enough.
She's really good on the mic too, obviously as a manager,
Oh,
but
yeah.
like just in general, I think she's very talented on the mic, and I think
She makes you believe.
she's great at prank calling.
Yes, she is.
She sounds like a little freaking guy, a little kid. My daddy said I'm a dada. Like, yeah, she's great.
Oh,
At prank
yeah. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna go look it up. People are gonna watch the VOD and be like, "What is he talking about?"
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna reply, when they ask me, "Kayfabe, kayfabe." Yeah, man. Like, I honestly feel like there's generational talent, and I hate that it gets overused over at AEW. I hate it when they use it because
Mhm.
it's everybody's a generational talent. No, you're not.
Right.
Like I can say our generation, if we looking at where we're at, I would say AJ Styles is in a top 3 contender to that.
Yeah, I
He's
could see that.
currently still in the business because he does it all. He's been everywhere. He's done it all. He makes it look good, and he can still go today.
Yeah.
Even if he just ate himself to be as jacked that he is now. Fuck. But I think Zelina, because she's still rather young.
She's young.
Because she strikes me as she has the athleticism of a luchador with the mic skills of AJ Lee.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like they could, remove the gimmick, and because she played AJ Lee in the movie Fighting with My Family, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
There you go. I mean, talk about casting. Because yeah, dude, they just need to light that fire and let it go. And I know they're slow boiling it because she had a hell of a match. I think she was the closest one to take the title off of Rhea.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Yeah, it was by a hair, and that just shows that there's some respect back there.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't think Nia Jax, I understand why she was brought back, and it has nothing to do with the cousins.
Right.
She was brought back because they didn't have anyone to be the believable monster heel. Because they don't have the Alexa Bliss heel character. They don't have the Nikki Cross heel character because she's involved in other things. So their creative is going one direction, and they need somebody to provide a reasonable threat to the title picture. And that's what she serves as a whole.
Yeah, which is interesting too, because I don't know if you remember back in the days, like during the Attitude Era, where it was people cheered for the bad guys and booed the good guys, right? Which is what started making Bret Hart do the whole America Sucks gimmick and all that kind of stuff, because they were cheering for Stone Cold instead of for him, right? At the end of that match. I feel like they're doing something similar with Rhea and Nia, because Rhea's a heel, but then you got another heel who's basically taken out Rhea, and it's like, but Rhea's so over with the crowd, even though she's a heel, that it's kind of like, it's like the Judgment Day is a heel group that Rhea's a part of, but she's so over with the crowd that, like they hate Dominic, but they love Rhea. You know, it's like it's such a
Yeah.
conundrum that
And
they have there.
well, I don't even think it's a conundrum. I think it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I don't even know what
Because
conundrum means. It just sounded like a word I should say at that point.
no, it's a great word. It's a great word that fits. You know, because because people love her. They've loved her since she was a blonde.
Right, right.
You know, because it doesn't matter what she's doing, she's just damn good at it. Much in the same way of, I want to say, in the vein of a Taya Valkyrie. People just love her. Taya was a heel for a good long time, and people still loved the hell of her existence. Similar line, you know, and they needed somebody assholeish enough to overshadow, I think, the Judgment Day as a group.
Hmm.
And Naya had heat even when she left.
Right.
Because people were like, you were unsafe X, Y, and Z, and you injured all these people. And if it was really that bad, they wouldn't have brought her back.
That's true
But
too.
the IWC likes to say a lot of things.
That's true too.
So we're going to close out a little bit because I want to put you over. I love that I've gotten all this time to talk wrestling with you. I hope you and the audience learned something today. But I have to, next 10 minutes or so, bear with me. Because it's not all you do, but it is something you were known for.
Yeah.
You are one of the few scam baiters who does not use a voice mod. You do it all yourself. You incorporate your love of wrestling into that at times.
Yep.
And for some of our audience who may not be familiar, can you explain to them what scam baiting is?
Sure. So basically, I guess you could say scam baiting would be like the art of wasting a scammer's time in order to keep them from talking to a real victim. So that to me would mean like if you ever get those emails that say that you have a charge on your Amazon account or Norton or McAfee or Windows or a pop-up that shows up on your computer that says you're infected with a virus, those are all like scams that these scammers kind of send out to people and see who bites, basically. And so calling these guys up, wasting their time gathering information and being able to share it with law enforcement and other authoritative bodies to be able to slow these guys down and protect people. So that's the gist of basically what scam baiting is.
And to put it into wrestling parlance, essentially what you do is you end up in sort of a vignette where you're cutting a promo a little bit on the scam baiter, wasting his time, like a really long extended segment that they just didn't want to
Right.
be a part of.
Right, and I one of my things is I try not to break kayfabe when I'm doing it either, right? Like I try to stay in character. I think that's one of the blessings, I guess you could say, from watching wrestling is watching these guys like stay in character for so long. And it's not until you break that fourth wall or break kayfabe that you're kind of like, oh, they're just like a regular person. But to me, it's like I rarely break kayfabe. I do break it once in a while. It's just, but I don't break it in the sense of like, like, haha, I had you going for so long and blah blah blah. I don't do that as much as I maybe did in the very beginning, but more or less, it's just kind of like if they know that I've been like pulling their leg at that point and they realize like, oh crap, this guy's been like faking this whole time, then it's kind of like, all right, yeah, maybe I'll come clean and just talk to them like a normal person. But yeah, I try to stay in character as long as I possibly can and get them to think that they're talking to a real potential victim. So
And
why waste their time?
and that being said, that is a parallel skill line with being a performer, and I think that's absolutely right. That your love of wrestling is kind of intertwined to that. How do you come up with your characters? I mean, Do you
I
just
mean, I have like different characters, and so it's just kind of I like to use accents from all over the world, and so I try,
Mhm.
I try to not that the accent itself is funny, but rather like that character has like quirky traits or says like some random things that would just kind of make it so that they're memorable for someone who's watching, so that I find a lot of people learn through humor. And so if I can educate people on how scams work through humor and they kind of understand, then like we look at our truth and we just remember certain things, like blah blah blah. Like I remember Santino Marella with friggin' Seamus and the Tea Party, right? Like there's certain things that I can't remember everything that he did, but there's some stuff there that like is memorable and you remember that character for. And that's kind of like what I try to do, is have these little sayings or do these little quirky things that people could remember the character for, and hopefully educate people and have them understand like how the scams work and kind of go from there. But yeah, I just kind of base it off of just people that I grew up around. I'm from a very multicultural place, and so I've heard a lot of accents, and
Hmm.
so I just kind of like, and I have friends from all over the world, so it's just kind of like I hearing their parents speak and blah blah blah, and then and then other characters that like an older guy or an older lady that I try to do as well, based on Mrs. Doubtfire, so whatever, yeah.
I have seen those.
Yeah.
I still think my favorites are is when you bust out the title and you're wearing it on your shoulder. Because I'm just like, People's Champ.
Yeah. That was not that long ago. Yeah. I played the
Yeah.
MJF song while I was holding the title. I told the scammer to hold on, and then because the MJF song is actually what do you call it? No copyright. So it's just like a random song on YouTube. And so
Really?
yeah, you didn't know that?
I
Yeah, you
did
can play
not know that.
yeah, you can play that. That theme song is pure, like it's free. It's free, man. Like anybody could play it. And so it's like do 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 do, right? And it's just like I just wore that, and I said, "Hold on a second," to the scammer, and I just played it in the background. I put him like, I'm just gonna turn the radio on. That was the song that was playing, and I was just holding the title. Yeah.
That's so good. I know you. I love your short, and I played it for like everybody to the point they're sick of me. Where it's like you're talking to the guy, and he's just cursing. He's just like, "Oh, this just came out of nowhere." Like ready goes an
Oh,
RKO out of nowhere, and I'm just like,
yeah, yeah,
"Oh my god, he didn't."
yeah. It's like the guy is swearing at me, man. Like he starts swearing at me from out of nowhere, man. Like Randy Orton. Yeah, yeah.
and that's a very cultural thing over there because wrestling is big over there.
Oh yeah, I know. And that's kind of like sometimes I'll say stuff like about John Cena or something. I said that earlier. I think I said that yesterday actually. I said I called a Etsy scammer. So basically a scammer that supposedly is Etsy support. And I said in an Asian accent, I said, my website, man, nobody can see it, man. It's like John Cena, nobody is seeing it. It's like things like that, like they don't, they I think once he heard me say that, he like caught on that I was like just kind of pulling his leg, and then and eventually we parted ways, I guess you could say.
Yeah, the romance was over.
Yeah, it was done.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I know that you're a hard worker. You got a family, and you like has in terms of wrestling, has that like is that integrated into your daily life? The kids into it, like I mean that how does that work out?
Yeah, my it's actually funny. My daughter, my oldest daughter, um, she'll hear the Cody Rhodes song playing in the background sometimes, and she'll go, "Whoa!" Um, but that's the extent of her involvement with wrestling. She just knows the song. My son, on the other
Mm,
hand, I actually took him to SummerSlam, and so we watched the debut of The Fiend when he came out with that
when you,
lantern with like his old face or his old head, and we were there live for that.
oh
So
man,
yeah, and then Dolph Ziggler came. Edge showed up afterwards too, actually, and he speared
oh
Ziggler. Yeah, I don't know if that happened after the show or whatever, but I know that it happened at SummerSlam. And then that SummerSlam, the Revival retained their championships, and I kid you not, we waited outside for all the wrestlers to like drive through or whatever, and the Revival drove through. Dude, they looked so miserable. They looked so miserable. I'm like not surprised that they ended up leaving, but they just looked like, what's his name? Mustache guy, I forget his name, Dax.
Yeah.
He was just like, we were like, hey, and he was like, I was like, damn, bro, you look sad. Like you look like miserable. But anyways, yeah. So my son, like he'll watch wrestling with me when it's on, you know, and has his little commentaries here and there about, you know, different wrestlers and who he likes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he's definitely into it. I was planning on going to Mania. Well, he was mad that I didn't take him to Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, sorry, bro, like the flights are too expensive. I'm not taking you. But yeah, I was planning on going to Mania. Actually, I had tickets for WrestleMania 37, and then the
Mhm.
pandemic happened. No, 36. I can't remember which whatever it was, the pandemic one, the first
36, I
yeah,
think.
the first pirate one, whatever it was. And then I think within 4 or 5 days before the event, they canceled it. And so I was like, no. And it's so hard for me to get tickets nowadays to them, that like anytime I go online to go buy them, it's already like resell and it's like super expensive. And I'm like, damn, you know, so I can't get any. So my plan was to go to WrestleMania 40, but I won't be able to. Um, but yeah, so they
Well, I
canceled,
mean,
they canceled WrestleMania on me, man. I was so irked. It would have been my first Mania to go to, even though we've had two.
well, you know, if it's a matter of staying, I'd put you in the fam up of 40.
Thanks,
You're only
man.
a couple hours away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have family like in New York too, so it's not that far either.
Yeah, but I live in the sticks. Kids can play
Yeah,
outside in the yard.
yeah, that's fair.
My little has been really high on Nikki Cross.
Okay.
Just because it's similar look as her, you know, just as loud and boisterous as her, you know. That's been her more recent kick.
Yeah.
Um, though she is now starting to kind of get back into Rosemary
Okay.
because it's back to that gimmick, and she loves Jessica Havoc. I mean, who doesn't?
Right.
You know, she's such an amazing lady. Which Jessica Havoc. Fun fact: did you know she wrestled Luna?
Luna Vachon?
Hmm.
I did not know she wrestled Luna Vachon.
That tells you how long she's been in the business.
Wow.
I
That's
have
super cool.
seen the match.
That's cool.
It's good times. Though
Yeah.
her best matches has always been when she's fighting with Sammy.
Okay, yeah.
Because she gets that pile driver on him and he sells it like $1 billion. It's so good. Uh, there's a lot of stuff like that happened at Revolver more than a couple times and a few other places. Because it's just their shtick. They're a really cute couple together. Uh, you know, the things you learn at streams, it's great. Uh, but yeah, man. I think we've had a pretty cool couple hours. I don't know about you, man.
Yeah, man, I've enjoyed it. Of course.
Uh, which, as we are the dive bar of the IWC, safe space always. If you got free time, we're doing Thursdays 9:30. You are always welcome. You
Thanks,
know,
man.
I'm glad I got to have you here. You know, we're not a huge place, but you know, you, you as a person, I think, have a lot of the skills of wrestling. You have a passion for it. I mean, we see the belt on the back wall, the money in the briefcase.
I got like 1980s
Yep.
wrestlers back here. I got Hogan, Honky Tonk Man, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the Warlord, King Kong Bundy. I got the Warrior, Coco Beware, Ravishing Rick Rude, Jake the Snake, and Andre the Giant on the other. You can't see it, but it's on this side of the wall. So yeah, I got a bunch of wrestling stuff
Right.
and masks. I got a Rey Mysterio signed mask over there and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, man.
Why don't you have a Senior Money in the Bank briefcase?
I thought about getting it while I was in Chicago. Actually, it was pretty expensive, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like even
Oh.
that title, right? That's my favorite title, the Winged Eagle, right?
Yeah.
Like yeah, like I'm like it's the first title I've ever owned, so I'm like just gonna have this for a while and just enjoy it before I buy some more.
Yeah. Because the wife didn't kill you for that one.
Well, the thing is I was gonna buy the AEW championship because I actually liked the way it looked, but damn, it was like $1,000, and I was like, wow, WWE's are like $500, $600, you know, and you guys are selling yours for friggin' $950,000. I'm like, are you friggin' stupid? I'm like, nah. I told my wife when I went to an AEW event, I told my wife, I'm like, I might buy a belt. I don't know. Just letting you know, I might buy one. And then when I saw the price, I was like, I ain't buying that. I'm like, I ain't buying that.
Do you remember the Fiend belt with the face?
Yeah.
You know how much that was?
That was expensive too. Like all these custom ones are
$3,000.
expensive. Yeah. It's like crazy, man.
Yeah, because it was Tom Savini.
Mm-hmm.
But
The other one I'd really like to have is the Intercontinental Championship, the one that Cody brought back, the old, you know, Honky Tonk Man, Ultimate Warrior, and you know those championship belts from back in the day.
I'm gonna have to get you a Pointless Aggression hoodie or something. That's John Cena loved it, so
Oh yeah,
you know it's part of the brand. But okay, God, I could keep this going on forever, but nope, not gonna do it. We can do this again. There are other times, other Thursdays. So everybody know where they can find me on Instagram. They had to fight with me to get me on Instagram, by the way. Now, where can they find you?
So if you go in onto YouTube or Twitch and you type in Deo or Deo Club, so I named Deo Club, like the Bullet Club is kind of like the inspiration of that as well. But yeah, so just Deo or Deo Club on pretty much every platform except for TikTok. TikTok, it's Deo Club 1 because my Deo Club account got banned the first time around. Yeah, stupid. They didn't even give me a reason why. They just banned my account. And I was like, are you stupid? But anyways, everywhere else, I'm Deo Club. So Deo Club on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, you know, with the one. And yeah, I think those are it.
And your lives, like, are you like every week, every certain time of day with your live streams?
It's sporadic, just depending on like what my schedule is like. But yeah, it's usually like, you know, I'll stream for like maybe an hour during the afternoon, like 3-ish, 4-ish kind of. Yeah, Eastern time. Yeah.
All right.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday is usually when I try. Like I won't be able to tomorrow. I might actually, I don't know. To check, but
yeah, I mean, if nothing else, pop on there for 5 seconds and be like, I was on this podcast with this jackass and blah 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 blah. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's how I do my life. But either way, I want to thank you for coming on. Like I said, you were always welcome, friend of the show, which you saw the reel. Those are friends of the show.
Thank you for having me, man. Like you mean like Kofi?
He knows who we are.
Oh, I got a Kofi story for you, man. I'll tell you off camera.
Okay. Roger that, boss.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, that is last call. Thank you, Fans First Sports Network, and we will be seeing you. Peace.
Peace.
Producer Lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support and buy us a drink by putting the I in subscribe and reviewing our podcast. And cheers to Fans First Sports Network for keeping the dive bar lights on.
I would never have a drink